I'm in Shenandoah National Park, just north of the Lewis Mtn Campground. This is approximately mile marker 56.8. There's a little parking area here. There's my car. And this is on the opposite side of the road from the trail I'm going to hike. So I got to go up here, get on Skyline Drive, and head south maybe 500 feet and turn left into a little gravel road, which is the beginnings of the Slaughter Trail. And I'm planning to hike that about 4 miles down the side of the mountain to the Conway River. So let's get started and see what happens. The bugs are really bad this morning. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning and it's about 65 degrees, I guess, maybe 60. Light wind. Should be a beautiful day to hike. It's supposed to be sunny all day. So let's get started. Okay, I crossed over Skyline Drive. Here's the trailhead for the Slaughter Trail. There's a little area here that's basically just a gravel turnaround. Up there, Skyline Drive. So, looking on Google Earth, it looked like you could park here, but I don't think so. This is just a gravel turnaround. So we're gonna head on down this way. I think I may stop off and see the Bearfence Hut along the AT. That's just a short detour, so let's get started. I'm 2/10 of a mile into my hike. The elevation here is 3,200 feet. And I'm going to take the Slaughter Trail continues on down straight ahead, but we're going to take a detour here to the right and go check out the Bearfence Hut. This is one of the huts along the Appalachian Trail. This is the Bearfence Hut along the AT. It's the front of it. There's a picnic table, the fire pit here, and over that way is the outhouse. So let's see, the elevation here is 3,120 feet. Here's the spring for the Bearfence Hut. Right there, there's the beginning of it. It's got quite a good flow to it. There's the signpost with the yellow band. They use those in Shenandoah National Park to mark the springs. And right up there's the hut. So the spring here is pretty close to the hut. Right there's a bear pole. You use that to hang your food on overnight, so that if there are bears, they can't get your food. It is not a good idea to sleep in these huts with your food. Not a good idea. I'm back on the Slaughter Trail now, heading down the side of the mountain, hiking toward the east. And here's another example of one of these old fire roads that is been abandoned basically. It's not used as a road anymore, except maybe by the Park Service. Little to no gravel, which means in another month or so there's going to be 3-4 foot high tall grass here and lots of ticks. So there's another one of these fire roads. If you want to hike it, you got to hike it in the winter time, late fall, early spring like this, before the grass gets too tall. That's looking downhill. That's where I'm hiking. And over there, just a little bit to the south, that's Lewis Mountain. And there's a campground over there that you can camp out. And I think they may even have some cabins for rent. Lewis Mountain Campground on Lewis Mountain. For now, we're going to keep heading down the side of the mountain. I'm 1.4 miles into my hike, and I'm down to 2,850 feet elevation. Here's where I came from, down the side of the mountain. This is the beginnings of a creek that's labeled Devil's Ditch on the map. And the road crosses the creek right here and continues that way. So going to have to hop some rocks or maybe go across on this big tree here. I'm 1.7 miles into the hike. The elevation here is 2895. This road, I'm on the south side of the ditch now. This road follows the south side for a ways, and then it crosses over back there where I showed you the crossing, and then it follows the north side of the ditch. There's a little feeder stream right here, but I stopped here because I noticed this poured concrete post, and I don't see where any signs have been attached to it, but it might have been part of an old gate or something. It could have been a gate to keep it could have been a gate post. I don't see any evidence of any gate anymore, but who knows. This road's been here for a long time. So, and it's not totally downhill either. Like this stretch here is uphill. So for now, we're going to keep on hiking down the side of the mountain on Slaughter Trail. I'm 2.1 miles into my hike. This road has taken me back up to 3,000 feet elevation. This looks like a high point though, and I stopped here to show you. This would make a nice backcountry camping spot. It's probably a half a mile from here to the nearest water, so you have to bring your own water or be prepared to walk a ways to get some. There's the trail over there. Probably have to get just a little bit further off the trail to be legit per the park regulations. But anyway, that spot right there looks like it's been used. I don't see any evidence of illegal fires. but plenty of trees up here, and have plenty of shade. It's a nice area. I'm going to mark this one as a backcountry campsite on my map. I'm 2.3 miles into my hike, and I stopped here. I actually got my GPS out and checked my coordinates because there's a fork in the road here. This is a little bit tricky. The elevation here is 2,960 feet. I almost went straight, but then I noticed this fork in the road, and after looking at the map, when you get to this fork in the road, you want to go to the left. I'm not sure where that goes. It looks like it's going up the side of the mountain even further. Here's the trail that starts heading down the mountain to the left. So we're going to head to the left. I'm 2.8 miles into my hike, and there's where I came from. This past tenth of a mile, let's say, this road has turned itself into a creek, and there's part of it right there, heading down the side of the mountain. So I stopped here just to kind of see where I was at, and that's when I noticed the red blazing. Now, red blazing, the Park Service uses that to indicate the park boundary. And it does, my map does indicate I'm at the park boundary. You can see that white sign nailed to that tree. That says that's a boundary marker right there. And then we're going to continue on down this way. I'm planning to hike down to the Conway River, which is another, I don't know, mile and a half, maybe 2 miles. And maybe you can see the red blazing right there. So this stretch of this road, Slaughter Trail, is just like barely inside the park boundary by feet. So here we go, going to continue on down the side of the mountain on Slaughter Trail. Actually, this stretch of this trail is just outside the park boundary. There's another boundary marker right there. So we're just outside the park boundary by some feet. I'm 3.2 miles into the hike. We're down to 2,320 feet elevation. Here's a little feeder stream right here. And over there in that big tree is another boundary marker for the park with some red blazing. And looking over there, I see some more boundary markers down that way. So we're getting ready to cross the boundary and re-enter the park. Not that that makes a whole lot of difference, but anyway, I'm just pointing this out. This is where you re-enter the park. I'm 3.8 miles into my hike, and I'm down to 1,935 feet elevation. Just wanted to show you this. This is really, really steep here for a quote road. There it is going up the side of the mountain. Here's a switchback, and there it is going down the mountain. Really steep. So for now, we're going to keep on going down the mountain. It's going to be a long hike back though. I'm 4.7 miles into my hike, and I'm down to 1,280 feet elevation, and this is the Conway River. This is where I'm going to stop and eat lunch. I'm 7.2 miles into my hike now. For the last 2 hours, I've been climbing this mountain. I'm up to 2,977 feet, almost 3,000 feet. And it's been really, really steep. I've climbed from about 1,200 feet up to 3,000 in about 2 miles of trail. And it's taken me about 2 hours to travel the 2 miles. There's the fork in the road that I showed early on in the hike. I just came up from the river on the left side of the fork, and I'm sitting on a log here. And then after I rest up some, I'm going to continue on up this way. Since I'm almost up to 3,000 feet though, most of the rest of this hike will be more of a roller coaster up and down than steady climbing, because I think my car's at 3,200, so I've only got 200 net more feet to climb over the next 2 miles. So I'm going to rest here for a little while and then keep on trucking. I'm 8.1 miles into my hike. The elevation here is about 2860, and this is a Devil's Ditch. Getting ready to cross over that way and keep going on up the side of the mountain. It's maybe a mile from here up to my car, but first I gotta hop across this ditch. It's almost 4 o'clock now. It's been a long hike. Counting the side trip to Bearfence shelter, it looks like about 9.2 miles. The elevation back here at the parking lot is about 3,230 feet. There's a parking lot and there's Skyline Drive right there. And the trail is south just a few hundred feet, and then over on the other side of Skyline Drive is where the trail starts. But there's Skyline Drive right there. Here, I'll see a car go by here in a second. There you go, enjoying the park. So I'm gonna get my little red car and head home. Here's the map of the hike. The quadrangle name is Fletcher, 1999. I entered the park from the south today off of US 33. I came up the mountain and got into the Shenandoah National Park at Swift Run Gap. Then I came up Skyline Drive, that's this red line here, for a ways, and parked my car right here where it says gate. So you park on this side, on the left side here of Skyline Drive, and then you have to cross over, and then you start following this gravel road down about 1/10 of a mile or so, turn right, and that takes you to the Bearfence Mountain Shelter. Then we came back up to here, and this is called the Slaughter Trail. But it's just an old fire road, really. And we follow this thing on down. Right here, where I circled it, is where it crossed this stream known as the Devil's Ditch. And it runs into the Conway River down here. So we crossed over Devil's Ditch and then continue on the fire road down to here. This is the fork in the road where you're coming down this way, here's the fork to the right, but you have to take the fork to the left, okay? And from here down to the Conway River, this trail is really steep, and climbing out of there is difficult, at least for me it was. So we follow this, and you'll notice right here it follows this edge of this boundary. I'll explain this boundary here in a second. But anyway, come on down here. And finally, right here where I circled it is where it runs down to the Conway River. And that's where I ate lunch. And then, of course, you just follow the same path all the way back up. And it's like 2,000 feet of vertical climb. So this is a fairly difficult hike. And then back to my car here. Now, one thing I wanted to point out is this area over here is Shenandoah National Park. And you'll notice, here's the park boundary right here, and you'll notice that from here down it starts to follow. This is the Conway River coming down through here, okay? And so it's pretty obvious that the park was intended to start here on the west side of the Conway River, okay? Except to look what happened. Here's an area called the Rapidan Wildlife Management Area. This belongs to the state of Virginia, and it extends over in here too. Now if you look at a map of Shenandoah National Park, there's all these little chunks like this chunk right here, which is part of the Rapidan Wildlife Management Area. This was originally intended to be part of Shenandoah National Park. The state of Virginia went around and took the land when they decided to create the national park. The state of Virginia did the dirty work. They went around and they took the land from people using eminent domain where they needed to. And they put together these parcels of land, and then when they got enough parcels together, they would sell them to the federal government to create Shenandoah National Park. Well, at some point in the process, this is like in the 1930s, at some point in the process, the federal government stopped buying these parcels. And so here's one of them that the state of Virginia got stuck with. This is a parcel of land that they took from all the people that lived in here, and they were going to sell it to the federal government to create the park. But when the park stopped buying these parcels, the state of Virginia got stuck with this stuff. And here's a bigger parcel over here. But anyway, what they decided to do, the state of Virginia decided to create a wildlife preserve, and it's called the Rapidan Wildlife Management Area. So that's the reason when you look at on the east side of Shenandoah National Park, you see these chunks missing, okay, that look like, gosh, it should have been part of the park. How comes it isn't? Well, that's the reason. I don't recall seeing any of these over on the west side, but on the east side, that's what happened. If you Google Rapidan Wildlife Management Area, you can read up on that. Let's see. You've got to set your GPS to NAD 27, so it'll agree with the map. And there is 11 degrees of western declination for compasses. And each contour line on this map, and there's a lot of them, each contour line is a 40-foot change in elevation. So that's the map for today.